Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another episode of our Unity base building game series. And today we're going to add a new type of furniture. We're back to sort of more fun things. We are going to add a mining drone station. What's the idea with this thing? Well, right now, if we go to start the game, if we load a save, I've got it hard-coded in. Oh my god, why is it the first compile of the day in Unity is so slow? There we go. If I load a map, because I've got a little extra hook in the map loading, we end up with some steel plates over here. But otherwise, we actually don't have any of those materials on the board anywhere. So, right now, if we load, yeah, we've got some material to work with, and we can use that to build some stuff, but otherwise, we don't have anything. And obviously, in the game, there's going to have to be some sort of input of materials. So I thought, you know what, first, maybe there's like just a station that someone can work at, and while they're there, they control mining drones that, I don't know, go down to the planet that we're orbiting, and come back with some materials from time to time. Although I think what would be really cool in the long run is some sort of system where, like, imagine you show up here in like a shuttle, like, presumably you got here somehow. So there's some sort of shuttle, and maybe what you can do is you can load up the shuttle with more material, you know, some food, water, a little bit of steel and tools and things like that, and then put like a couple of our characters into that shuttle. They leave for, I don't know, an in-game day. And when they come back, they've come back from a successful mining mission, they've come back with a bunch of stuff. Maybe you can send them to mine, like, ice comets or something like that, and come back with more water or different things in the future. But it might be a good start to have this sort of, like, remote mining drone. It's not quite as fast, but it is safe and requires less initial setup, for example. So, you know, that sort of thing, I think, makes a lot of sense to put in. I haven't, you know, my graphic is not a real graphic. How do we get to, say, the character sprite over here in the editor? Thank you very much. And then I can drop one of these graphics in here. And I guess I got to set it on the right layer for it to render. But basically, I just got this placeholder art like this. And the idea is, oh, actually the resolution's not quite right. I'll have to adjust that on the sprite input because it's supposed to be something like that. And the idea is this is the seat that you work at, right? And what we're going to do is we're using this to introduce the concept of a job that gives you a hint about the correct positioning for the character to be to work the particular job. And this is going to be relevant for lots of things. Basically, everything's going to have that kind of hint, including, for example, when we're going and building walls, right? Right now, when you build a wall, we go and stand on the tile. And a lot of people don't like that. They would like you to stand adjacent. And I said, yeah, we'll look at that later on. And this is that sort of time. So now jobs will have information as to where you are supposed to stand. And, or, for in the case of walls, I think the job position is going to be the wall tile itself, but we're going to have a flag that says it's okay to just stand adjacent to this as opposed to on top of it. Whereas for the mining drone, this chair is going to be the tile for the actual job, but adjacency is not okay. You actually have to enter the tile itself to get the work done. Now, this is going to be our initial pass, but what I imagine going forward is that our job here, our mining drone station, is actually not going to have a built-in chair. Instead, it's going to take the route that, like, virtually every base building game has, where you have the piece of furniture itself, the workstation, and then there's a tile marked next to it that is not part of the sprite itself or the building itself, but that's where you're supposed to stand. And then that's going to come into effect when we go and place the object. Right here in the placer, there's going to be an extra little graphic that indicates what tile the character is going to have to stand in, and we are going to check that. So imagine just at the bottom of this oxygen generator, imagine this is something you have to work, and just below this oxygen generator, there's a little symbol that shows you need to stand here to be able to work it. And then if we were to take this oxygen generator and try to place it here, have it turn red, even though one of the actual squares for the actual piece of furniture is not being occupied. The standing spot is occupied by a wall over here, therefore it's not allowed to be positioned here. That's the sort of thing we're going to want to do later on. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to have the seat built into this, which means currently you wouldn't be able to place this mining drone if, say, this tile or this tile is occupied, because it's going to be 3 by 3 internally. That's not what it's going to be in the future. But for now, it's going to be like that, and that's going to be fine. And it'll still let us put in this little bit of positional code, and it'll make our wall building look a little bit less dumb. So let's go ahead and do a wee bit of that. So we've got a few things to change. We've got our furniture script over here that presumably might want to have some sort of like job standing spot kind of variable. There's a lot of ways to do it, for example. Like we have custom code for our furniture. Over, oops. Come on. There we go. Over here in Furniture Actions, This is what actually creates the job for the various pieces of furniture, some of which have to be worked and some don't. But in here, this is where we set up the job. So for example, this is the stockpile update action. This runs every tick, and this makes sure that there's a job on the queue that gets worked correctly, right? And the job over here has a furniture tile that it tries to work in, and then it does some stuff. Well, what's going to happen is when we create this job for our mining drone, is the tile we're going to use isn't going to be the root tile of the furniture, but instead going to be this other tile that is offset, which is where our chair is. As it turns out, again, it will so happen that that tile is going to be part of our furniture right now, but what's important is that the actual furniture.tile is always the bottom left corner, and that's not the one we're going to want to use with this mining drone station, or whatever you want to call it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and set up this furniture first. So let's go and do the basics that we already know. We know that currently we define pieces of furniture in our world file. Again, we have this create furniture prototypes function, which is going to be replaced by an XML file later on. I think what I'll do is I'll actually clone the oxygen generator. I think that's probably a fine start. It's got some of the numbers we're already looking for. And it's at the bottom of the file, so that works out okay. And I call this the mining drone station, like workstation, but station's a little bit shorter. So that's the furniture prototype. The type ID is this. Door pathfinding cost? Well, it's just the pathfinding cost. And that's another thing. Right now, because the furniture, this drone mining station, is all one giant tile, we kind of sort of have to set the pathfinding cost to just 1, so that when people walk into the chair, they don't walk apocalyptically slow. But later on, again, when the chair is not actually part of this piece of furniture, then we can correctly say that the pathfinding cost of walking through this mining drone station is very high. Perhaps even, like, literally unwalkable, right? Would that be a 0? I think a 0 is unwalkable the way we have it set up. So you can't actually walk through there, but then the spot where you have to stand to work, that is going to be, again, not part of this furniture. Therefore, a character can easily walk into that tile and go to work. And later on, if we put an actual chair there, like if we have a piece of a chair as a separate piece of furniture, which is very similar to something like RimWorld, for example, then the chair's pathfinding cost is probably just going to be 1. It's probably just going to be normal, but then you can still stand there and, I don't know, build up comfort or whatever along the way. For our purposes, right now, we will set the mining drone station as something you are allowed to walk through. And currently, this is a 3x3 object, but to do, in the future, the mining drone station will be a 3x2 object with an offset work spot. Right? So that'll be that later on. Anyway, it doesn't link to neighbors. It doesn't include enclosed rooms. It'll probably have some sort of job. So in furniture actions, what I'll do is, I don't know, I'll clone the oxygen generator. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to blank this out and it's going to be perfectly fine. This is going to be the mining drone station update action. We're going to grab that. And then we're just going to say this. So that function is going to get called every frame. Awesome. Okay, so that's that. But clearly, we need to know where the work spot for this piece of furniture is. And the question is, where do we define that? How do we define that? For now, let's make a very simple assumption. Let's assume that every piece of furniture will only ever have one work spot. Right? It's not going to have 2 spots for people to stand. You know, you're not going to have a station where you need 2 people to work on at the same time. Maybe we will do that later on. Maybe we'll choose a different structure. Maybe we'll have, you know, we want all kinds of different flexibility. But for now, I think it's perfectly fine if in our furniture class, we just do something like, we can have, what? Like, we don't have, well, I guess we can use vector 2s in here. That's perfectly fine. So what if we had a public, again, for now we'll make it public, we can figure it out later, vector 2, something like job spot offset, which is going to default to vector 2.0, which I'm pretty sure is the default for a vector, but let's make sure. So this is, if this furniture gets worked by a person, where is the correct spot for them to stand relative to the bottom left tile of the sprite. Note, this could even be something outside of the actual furniture tile itself. In fact, this will probably be common. I mean, lots of furniture doesn't generate a job that has to be worked by a person, right? Like the oxygen generator doesn't get worked by a person. It just does this, but then some of them might have a job spot offset like that. One thing that we'll have to answer a question for is what happens with repair jobs for multi-tile objects. Because imagine that the oxygen generator breaks down and someone has to repair it. Presumably, what you would do for that is you would create a job. You would actually ignore the job spot offset, because this is like where you stand to work on the furniture, or work on the workstation, which is different from repairing it, presumably. Or maybe we still use it. I mean, who cares, right? But when you repair it, I think the default assumption might be something like, let's assume the bottom left corner, like the actual root tile, but you can stand adjacent to it. And then later on, we could maybe even improve it by saying, pathfind to whatever is the closest tile to this piece of furniture. You might end up being in the top right corner of it. That's fine, but still be adjacent. And then we can work something out like that. But for now, that's a problem for the future. So we've got this sort of job spot offset variable that we are going to set over here in our mining drone station. We are going to say that mining drone station dot job spot offset is going to be equal to a new vector2, where we're going to be offset by 1 in the x direction, right? Because right now, this is relevant or relative to the bottom left corner of our sprite. And if we load up our sprite over here, right, the bottom left corner, well, we want to be 1 tile over to the right from there. Oh, then that reminds me, I have to adjust the pixels per unit, which should be 64 pixels per unit for this particular graphic here that I've used. So that will, because our actual stuff is about 192 wide, well, exactly 192 pixels wide, it's 64 times 3. It's 3 by 3 is what this sprite is. And we check the sprite editor, we can see 192 by, well, I guess I didn't apply it. Should be, oh, because it's getting clipped at the top. There we go. 192 by 192. Apply that. Thank you very much. So anyway, 64 tiles per pixels per unit is what I've drawn this at. I mean, we haven't really standardized this yet. We'll have to make a decision. But as long as, see, the door is 32 pixels per unit, but that's okay. As long as, like, you know, you adjust this to be appropriate for the art, you could, in theory, have images that are different resolution for different furniture, but it's probably a lot better to standardize on one, especially once we get a certain graphic look going on that we want to work on. But anyway. All right, so mine drone is there. If we add a button in the UI, build menu, build oxygen generator. Let's duplicate this one. I'm just going to go and put this one next to it. This is going to be build mining drone station. We might want a shorter label because that's a bit long. I'll just call it drone station in the menu over here. And if we update the button to say mining drone station is the string that we're going to pass to our building code. So already, if we hit play, we can load up a map. And I can click the drone station and put it down wherever I want. And that's all good. And it gets built instantly, and it doesn't need any actual material to do that. Okay, so that's great. Trying to enter an unwalkable tile. Oh, I think that's at the start, because we were starting on a bad thing. Oh, that's interesting. So I mean, this unwalkable tile is likely getting called because we are, you know, we start on the wall, and that's okay. It's perfectly legit to start off with that way, and it's a useful error. It's interesting that character.x can get called before we have one of these two assigned. It might be cur tile, it might be next tile. And we don't know which. No, everything should be set. Cur tile equals desk tile equals next tile equals tile. Unless we're not instantiating the character this way. Are we doing something else? Why would at any point one of these be null? Right. I guess it can be null. Because that means when we run out of path. So I guess what we need is we need a little check over here. If next tile is equal to null, then we return curtile.x. Curtile should never be null. That would be pretty bad. And then the same thing over here. Let's see if that gets rid of the error. Unless there's something else going on that I don't know. I mean, this is not stopping our code from working, although it actually semi-surprises me that it doesn't. So load. Build a mining station here. There we go. Yeah. So this is fine. Next tile being curtile, that's all legit. And that, you know, character was trying to enter a walkable tile, unwalkable tile. That is fine too, because it's actually just doing weird things over here. But that's all 100% legit. And now we have a mining drone over here. Great stuff. So it doesn't set up a job yet. So what we're going to do is, well, do that. So, very similar to us working, say, the stockpile or whatever. What we're going to do is check to see if we have a job on the go. So, fern dot, what is the job count, I guess, is going to be fine. Something like if furniture job count is greater than 0, we already have a job. So nothing to do. So return. But otherwise, what we're going to do is create a new job. So job j is equal to new job, which needs a tile to start off with. And normally, we would go furniture.tile, right? That's what we do in the other ones. But we don't actually want to do that. Instead, we want to say something like, I think I'll need a helper function for this. Well, I don't need one, but we want to find out what tile is supposed to be worked. So with this job spot offset, what we'll need is a little function, maybe something called public tile get job spot tile. Because this is something we're going to ask fairly frequently. So what it's going to do, it's going to return. So for our current, like we don't have a reference to world, but we can go tile.world.getTileAt, and I have my own tile.x plus jobSpotOffset.x, comma, and then same thing, tile.y plus jobSpotOffset.y. And a lot of times, this will just be +0, +0. On the other hand, we don't call get job spot tile that often, probably. And, excuse me, oh my god. This is actually a relatively fast set of function calls. Even if we just end up doing +0, +0, and calling tile world get tile at, oh my god, I'm dying. Wow, excuse me. This is still a pretty fast function, so I think it's going to be okay. Maybe we'll optimize something later on. Maybe what we could do is actually cache this job spot tile. Actually, that might not be a terrible idea, but let's worry about that in the future. What's great about the future is it's not now. All right, so the job spot is going to be for that. The job object type is just used for the preview. So we're not doing that. We do need a function to call when this job completes. And this function will spawn some metal plates for us is what it's going to do. Or steel plates, or whatever it's called. So we're going to need, let me get back to you here. We're going to need some other function here. This is going to be job complete. I think we just need the furniture for that. So we're going to say a job gets complete. Actually, I think you pass it the job is what happens. Job J. Okay. Job time, how long does it take to do it? We're just going to put in 1 second for now. And inventory, whoops. and inventory requirements is just going to be null. Don't actually have to bring anything over. You just have to stand here for 1 second, and it will complete the job. Right? Let's make sure we haven't made a syntax error at this point. Oh, right. This is a vector 2, which is floats. So this was trying to do float, float instead of int, int. If we do that, that should cast it fine. That's a function call, not a property. And there we go. All right. So now it's just complaining that we define J, but we never actually use it. Okay, so, I mean, we're going to put this on the queue then. How are we interacting with the job queue? New job. Can't take from stockpile. Register job worked callback. We don't care about that. Oh, and then we just add the job to the furniture. And I think this is responsible for also queuing up everything. So now this should put a job on the queue, if we don't already have one. And I think this automatically, for us, do we get notified when this job is complete? I don't think it does. Right, because when we work our stockpile job, this is where we're responsible for pulling things off the queue. So, well, that's fine, because we call mining drone station, job complete. Do we tag j dot, well, that's interesting. We find out which piece of furniture generated this job up here by doing j.tile.furniture. So this is a job. The job's got a tile, and that tile has furniture in it. That's how we know what job it is. But that's not always going to be true. In case of this, the offset, right now, the job spot tile will happen to be a tile that is also a part of this furniture. But it's not going to be that in the future. It's going to be some tile that is completely empty, or worse, points to like where there's a chair, which is a completely different piece of furniture and that is unrelated. So I think the job does actually need to be aware if it's supposed to be linked to a furniture. All right, we've danced around that long enough. So what we'll do is we'll put in, so it does have a furniture prototype for building, but this is going to be something like worked furniture. I don't know, we're just furniture, I suppose. The piece of furniture that owns this job frequently will be null. Right, so now, and I should update the other code. Dot furniture is equal to fern. This is the stockpile job. I mean, just so that it knows, because why not? And in fact, over here, when we try to get the furniture, we can actually just say job.furniture, remove job. Much better. And this should never be null. If this is null, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And the same thing will happen here. We'll say j.furniture is equal to fern. Actually, let me take this back. Let me take this back and not actually make... I'm not going to make this public. I'll make it protected. And when we add a job... Should this not be alphabetical? Why am I not seeing add job at the top here? Oh, it's not called add job. Oh, I'm in the wrong code. Right. So never mind. This does actually have to be public. But I was going to say in furniture, there we go, add job furniture, we should tell the job j.furniture is equal to this. There we are. And when we remove the job, it gets canceled and all those things. To clean it up, I'm going to set the furniture back to null. There we go, to clean that up. Okay, so now whenever we add a job to furniture, which is what happens here, it is also going to tell the job's furniture where it's supposed to be. And the same thing's going to happen here, which is great. And over here, we can still say j.furniture because it's public. Maybe we don't want it to be public later on, but for now, it's going to be all right. So when the mining drone station completes the job, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to, first of all, j.furniture.remove job j, because then on the next update, it'll actually recreate the job, which is going to be fine, and re-add it to the queue and do all those things, which is going to be wonderful. But what we're going to do, and actually we have to do this first because at this point we would lose our furniture. We have to spawn some steel plates, right? That's what I'm calling it, right? Yeah, steel plates. So how do we do that? Well, we've got the inventory manager, which does not have a static or an instance reference, but that's okay, because what I can say is something like j.tile.world. Yeah, we need a better way of accessing the world. We'll need a singleton kind of design model, but we'll add that in maybe next time. .inventory manager .place inventory, and we're just placing it, yeah, on a tile. So, I mean, we could do something funky later where we give it to a character, and then if the character has something in his hands, he'll always just try to dump it off somewhere. That might be a different way to treat it. But I think for now, we'll dump it in a tile. And for now, we will just dump it in the tile that we're working in. So, and we have that. So we've got a job tile, and the inventory we are going to create is going to be a new stack of steel plates like this. And we're going to create, I don't know, 10 of them per tick. Obviously very, very, very fast. I don't know, I suppose we could slow it down to 1 per tick. Tell you what, I'll do 2 per tick, just because it'll actually be kind of interesting. Okay, so what we do when we've completed a job, we spawn some inventory on the same tile where the character is currently working, and then we remove the job. And then on the next update, this will run, it'll notice that our job count is not above 0, so then it'll create a new job, add it to the bottom of the job queue, and go forward. Let's see what this does. I have no idea if this is going to work in its current state or not. Are we going to syntax errors? No. I guess we basically have everything in place. So drone station here. You'll walk over and build it. Then, okay. You're working it there and spawning it there. Why are you? Why are you doing that? Because we set the job offset, didn't we? Yeah, offset X by 1. And when we create the job, which is being worked, everything is actually working way better than I expected it to. Get job spot tile. It should be the tile X plus 1. Let me just explicitly code this in just to see, because it's our base tile plus 1 in the X. O2 generator? No, sorry, drone station. There we go. Oh, I know why. I know why. We are setting it here for the prototype, but we don't actually copy that. So in our clone function, which then calls our copy constructor, we have to make sure that we also copy our job spot offset. There we go, because it's not copying over to our instance. So now if we hit play, hold on. And then we go way down to the bottom over here, and we get this version again, and try this. And let's load the dummy pathfinding test. Yeah, he builds it instantly, and there you go, he's spawning some material in the ground. So then if I queue up, say, a bunch of wall building jobs, And then he's not going to have enough to build the thing, so he's going to have to do, yeah, he's going to drop off 4, and then he can't. So then he's going to produce some goods, bring the rest. Because the way the queue works, you're always doing that. So now he's going to work this until he's got a couple of doses. Actually, ooh, interesting. Right. Yeah, so as soon as one gets spawned, he goes. So obviously, at some point, we need to start figuring in some sort of like priority system or whatever for this, because it would be way more optimal if he just worked the mining drone until there was a full stack of 5, right? Because now every time he finishes the mining drone job, the job ends. A new one gets created at the bottom of the queue, though, and the first thing that our character grabs is the construction job, so he'll grab even just two metal plates or even one, bring it over there, rather than, you know, be a little bit more movement efficient in doing that. But that's okay. We will be redoing the job system, and in fact, it's kind of sort of going to be time for doing that. I kept saying we're going to wait on redoing the job system until we have the rooms in place. Well, now we have rooms in place, so it might be time to work on the priority system, which in addition to, well, we are going to have some sort of, mask system. So that, right, so this character is looking for a X type of job first before Y type of job, and maybe we can turn those on and off. But not only that, we would actually like our characters to pay attention to distance, what room things are in. There's also another issue over here in that currently when this slot is full, you can't actually produce any more goods. The extra goods are just lost. It's trying to generate more material into here, but this is capped at 50. Right? So it'll never go above 50. But he's still sitting there working again and again and again and again. So one thing that we could do is we could have this building here check to see if the tile where we're dropping goods is already full. And if it is, don't requeue the job. Alternatively, we could be putting the goods somewhere else. You know, it can start a new stack next to it. What is correct? Well, I guess it's going to depend very much on the game. I mean, certainly this is not good. It actually would be really easy to just fix this. And I'm going to go and do that before we leave here, which is I'm going to go into the furniture actions over here. So this is if I already have a job, there's nothing to do. Then what we can check is if furniture.jobSpotTile.inventory is not null, and the furniture.inventory.stackSize is greater than or equal to, okay, we're doing this too often. Give me a second here. We're going to do tile job spot is equal to this. Not that get job spot tile is that hard or demanding of an operation, but it is starting to get called a lot of times in a row. So we can do something like this. And same thing over here. That's going to be much better. Excellent. Dot max stack size. Our drop spot, which honestly we will probably not want to generate the goods on the job spot. We'll probably want to have the ability to customize a drop spot, just like we customize a job spot, but that'll come later, is already full, so don't create a job. So we just return. There we go. So now he won't just keep doing that over and over and over anymore, which is definitely an improvement. Assuming I haven't screwed that up. I guess I'll do a little bit of a test before I call this and put the code online, because it would be pretty miserable if it didn't work well. Drone station here. So you're going to build it, and then you're going to work it for a while. Character being told about a job that isn't his. You forgot to unregister something. Ooh. Interesting. Interesting. So, I mean, on complete is being called for the character when it's already done? Because when you call remove job, it cancels the job again. Right. And that, so the character's already run his on job complete at this point. And so he's already forgotten that the job was supposed to be his, and now cancel job is being run, which is calling all these callbacks, which is again telling the character, hey, your job got canceled. And the character's like, I already knew about that. So that's not, right now, that's not really a bug. Everything is working fine. And maybe we could just get rid of this debug error, or what actually is probably better. Yeah, what I think we're going to do is in our on job ended, Yeah, but we are under-registering the callbacks. So how do we get told this a second time? So something else is changing the character's job somewhere along the way. I wonder if this is getting queued to be called twice in a row. Oh, that might be it. I bet you that's exactly what this is going on. So when we cancel a job here, right, job cancel, the character has one function that gets called... Yeah, there's some sort of weird timing issues. I'm thinking these callback lists don't get updated at the rate that I think. Because we get this gets called when our job completes. And then we're supposed to remove these callbacks. And the first time it runs, it should be fine. But then it's getting called the second time, probably from here, I assume. So we're doing update, then we're doing the job. Job do work is being called. Then the character's on job ended is being called. Ew. Maybe it's not the way I think. Job 117? Interesting, it's being called from here. Am I... Yeah, it's on job complete, not job worked. Why does the character think it doesn't own it at this point? Because it's clearly working some sort of job. The character must be clearing out its job somewhere else that I'm not expecting it to. Character, update, do job. So this is when you need material. Do work. I'm curious about the timing. In any case, this is working fine. And now if I tell you to go and build a door over here, you should not go back to job. Yeah. So he's not going back to the mining drone because the mining drone is correctly not creating another job. So there's a funky timing issue here that I'm going to have to sort out. It's not stopping the program from working, but something is definitely being weird. And I'm not comfortable about things being weird. I want things to be explained. But yeah, that is not being queued up. So there might still be questions as to what we do with this stuff. How do we determine the drop spot? What do we do if the drop spot is full, etc., etc., etc. If we did have a stockpile at this point, we'd be okay. Although again, now it's going to go do this weird thing where it's going to work here, it's going to produce a little bit, gets put to the bottom of the queue and goes there. Maybe what we do, and this is an interesting thing, is what if we don't cancel job when the job is quote-unquote complete? What if instead we reset the job amount to 1? Now, all the callbacks still get called, so that's probably no good. I don't know. We'll think of something that makes us feel more comfortable with this workflow. I mean, it could just be a proximity thing, right? This would obviously be the closest job, so maybe he keeps working it over and over and over again, or a priority queue, especially for bringing things to the stockpile. But I do want the construction priority to be quite high. Right? I don't want you to always be working the mining drone when you could be doing construction. I don't know. We'll think of something. Anyway, that is the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching, folks. And I'll see you next time when we will probably update this to have the work spot not be part of the tile itself. And that's going to require us messing around with this building system, so that this will still flag red, even though there's not actually going to be a tile to the bottom of the mining drone that is the work spot. So we'll figure that out next time. See you then. Thank you everyone who pledged on Patreon in April and who are supporting these videos from May through to early June. And to these Mic Check level supporters, we've got Wes Oldenboiving, Craig Mortel, Neil Balaki Milner, Speedy Savant, Valiant Cake Fiend, Aaron Toivson, Marius Field Vold, Jan Torrevel, Julian Auger Lafont, Steven Stager, Michael McClintock, Kale the Quick, Drazion, Bite Rash, Adjective, Jason Yanti, and to absolutely everyone who watches and shares and favorites and subscribes to these videos. Appreciate you all. Thank you very so much, and I'll see you next time.